All right, first up we have finance. Oh, here we
Yes.
go.
Yep.
Finance.
I select
Yeah. So does that Hi, ladies. So we have the finance committee, joint meeting of the finance committee and town accountant tomorrow to talk about end of year transfers. Third set. There'll be one last one. 4 sets?
There will be a last one.
There will be a last one. I'm trying to do these as we go along. Does anyone want? Yes, please. Okay. I brought my own. So these are just some of the latest, current negatives or to be negative, based on some information that we see.
Are these negative out the year?
Not all of them, no. Like the legal, I don't have any idea. So this is all the up and through, I think it's March.
March, you figured that out.
The highway superintendent is through the end of the year, correct. The fire wages are through the end of the year. That was, the fire chief gave me a spreadsheet and went through and pretty much pinpointed what he was going to need for wages through the end of the year.
And that's how much the worst budget is from last year.
Yes, that's pretty much one pay period. And the fire expenses are for, let's go start with.
We start at the beginning.
Okay, so technology services, it's negative $24.15. We had to pay $50 for, you see my notes down the bottom. We owed money for Envision for services that they worked on when we got our new server. And we had money in technology equipment to take that from.
Is there any money left in that line item?
Technology equipment, yes. Assistant town clerk wages. The current town clerk is requesting hours. She needs Bruce to be in that office, her 20 hours a week, where she worked more hours previously because of the previous town clerk being out, whether it be a vacation or she was sick or whatever, so we covered, so her time allotted in the budget got eaten up, but Janine is requesting transfer from her election wages to the town clerk to help her in her transition period until the end of the year.
Does she anticipate needing much more after?
No, she figured it out and gave me a synopsis of what she needed.
So we won't be looking at any more.
We should.
But she does 20 hours a week now.
Correct.
Okay. And then, because Eileen was out, she came in to fill in for Eileen's hours.
Yes, so she was
So
working
thought
more
the office
hours.
would be open.
There's
We're not
not.
adding any more hours.
No, because if we went with what was left in the budget, she wouldn't be working 20 hours every week. So, and she has vacation time that's coming to her too that she needs to take, so. The highway superintendent is through the end of the year. And as we discussed last week, last time it was, we paid vacation out, which was due, which we had anticipated in that budget. The legal expenses are for 2 bills. What did I say, it was for March? It was for March and April. And I don't know what we will get for May and June. So we're still waiting.
They have not sent us food.
They did send us a note about how we wanted them to bill June, and Heather and I discussed and decided to have it be split in half, so we will get the first half of June, like, we should be getting it this week or next week, and then, so that we can pay for it right away, and then the second half we'll get, instead of waiting till the middle of July to get the whole bill. So, but we will still need money at some point from somewhere to cover those legal bills. The fire wages, is a calculation, by the, fire chief, that he needs, for shifts to be covered for the remainder of FY14.
question I have, in that, he ran out of money, or there was more service calls, or what was involved, and why he was short then? You know?
He just needs to cover all those shifts. I don't know if there was enough money, budgeted from the very beginning. I don't know how the original budget was set
The
up.
concern I have is, you know, we're starting a new year, and you can't expect this kind of money in the new year.
Well, I'm just wondering, can't you cut hours now to make up that difference? I mean,
Well, remember,
I'm just-
we're volunteer though, so if there's.
No, that's the call department.
It's on
I mean,
call, yeah.
call, but Thursday's the only time we have regular hours, right? Except.
No.
We're all on call, but I mean, you can't cut that back.
But they're staffing the station.
They're staffing the station, yes.
People being staffed.
I mean, my personal opinion is isn't his budget, so, you know, he's trying to figure out what was done by his predecessor. I would hold him accountable on July 1 forward,
Okay.
my opinion.
I just don't want this conversation.
Well, we're gonna have this conversation next year.
I think we should have a
Sure,
month by month
basis.
basis. Yeah, absolutely.
And then the fire expenses, that is for fuel that needs to be charged to his department that he got from the highway department. So that was for May. There'll be one more fuel bill in there,
Which is not in here.
which is not in here now because it's not completed. So it's probably gonna be another $700 and some odd dollars, but I didn't want to guesstimate and underestimate those last bills for June. And then, park expenses was, again, fuel for May for the highway department mowing the park. So there might be another one come June when I charge those departments for all the fuel, in those departments.
Next question.
Yep.
Do you have any idea, based on today, if we're gonna have surplus at the end of the year and roughly what it would be?
I do not.
No, it's kind of hard to tell.
Are any of the line items that you took money from completely wiped out now?
No.
So all of the accountants that,
Well, yeah, let me take that back. The health agent salary there's like $4 or $5 in it, but we're not paying anybody for the end of the year, so.
okay.
You know what the status is on that? On the
They are
interview?
doing their second interview this evening for a second candidate, and hopefully one of the interviewees that they have gone through the past couple of weeks will pan out, and they'll be able to move forward with the PPP after that.
The almoners is complete, this would completely wipe out the almoners. The veterans,
Question on that?
yeah,
Have you talked to them about that?
that is money, if you read the management report, was an error that we should have never put it in the general fund for the budget. Gift money cannot be included in the general fund.
Okay.
So I really technically can't let them spend any more of it because it was appropriated incorrectly to begin with.
Okay.
I have, the auditors sent me documentation, the explanation and whatnot, so
So just to clarify, we cannot budget for the honors?
we cannot in the
It's
general
only
fund.
by gifts?
It has to be in their gift fund, which they have a couple other, non-expendable and gift funds.
Because, I know the community preservation in years past has given them money.
There is some money in that particular CPA for certain items, yes. The veterans benefits are wiped out. I talked to the veterans agent. He has, paid all of his people through June, and so no one can really submit any new claims for right now. I took not all of the assistant assessor wages, but there's no one in that position currently, so I calculated what I would need for Lori for that rest of the year, and took a good chunk of that away. EMT licensing, I took some money that away to cover some of the fire department expenses per the, spreadsheet I got from the fire chief. He went through and put through what was gonna be negative and what he was gonna have left over for a total amount that he was gonna be negative, and that's where some of that money comes from. And, the election registration salaries, I'm not quite sure why we, increased it by $30, but they get a stipend per year to be a registrar, and that's it, so I'm not quite sure why we budgeted an extra $30 in
Maybe
there.
somebody didn't show up for,
No, because there's so many, there's 6 of them, I think they get $100 or it's $200, but it was an error.
I know, a couple of years ago, we had this discussion, I thought we increased it because we were supposed to be paying a minimum wage. versus-
That's the salaries for for the election workers. This is for being a registrar. You get a stipend for being a registrar, which is different.
Okay.
And then I took some of Heather's salary away because I know exactly what she needs for the end of the year, so.
It's what she's throwing.
Is there any, are there any other questions?
Do you have any, on your radar, what is our fourth going to be looking like? Do you have any idea?
Say that again?
Our fourth, request for, transfers?
Well, I'm gonna give you this. These are, what I predicted for wages for the end of the year. The fire chiefs are pretty much what he gave me. He went through and did all of, where's that with this? And I pretty much, I mean, the salaries are fairly easy, like the town administration, my salary, the treasurer's salary, those are, the salaries are based on whatever your pay period is, and there's one left, and then, there'll be one day that we'll pay you for June 30th, but it's, if you look at the police wages, the communication wages, and the general highway wages, per pay period, I did an average of what they've been getting paid for the year, and calculated that there'll be 2 more pay periods left. Possibly we pay them for June 29th and 30th. Like, for instance, the police and the communication get paid vacation payouts. I only estimated based on what we did last year. And these are the numbers that are, the guesstimates of what I will have and don't have for next year.
So you're
Before
telling
the end of
me
the
to
year.
come up with $17,000 in the communication wage fund?
Yes,
That's how much they're over their budget.
they will be at 5 million. Plus or minus depending on whatever they pay out for, vacation and personal.
So they're gonna have to use police wage overage,
That's
So-
it, yes,
10 grand more we need,
yes.
if we keep.
That's
continuing.
just an average of, $23,000. If we happen to pay $25,000 for the next pay period, and that, you lose that money.
I think this is where we need to have monthly meetings and have the department heads manage their own.
Because if you're not managing it now, you're not going to manage it now.
So,
Well, this communication thing is the second time in 2 years we've seen this kind of number. 3 years?
Is there a root cause to that, to make it so,
I guess in discussions, I think that the board has had with the police chief previously, he's not funded enough, but, I don't have an answer.
I think one of the issues we have here, and we see it year after year, is that at the beginning of the year, we go down and cut everybody's budget by a certain percent. And at the end of the year, we fund back certain departments. So in reality, certain departments get fully funded, others don't.
Right.
That's not fair, so we gotta manage it better.
I mean, Dave's not here to talk about it, but last year we talked about it, and he said when people are out, he has to pay time and a half, and we had a lengthy discussion, and start finding some temporary people to fill in for people on vacation. And I'm sure he probably tried, but I don't think we had anybody in that position to come in as a fill-in. We're paying people backfilling, time and a half. If the holidays are double time. That's what's costing us a lot of money.
Filling a shift, yeah, I mean, can we not fill a shift?
That's what's going to happen. Money, it's not building shifts.
I mean, really, the only place that there's any money that's really left to be had is if whatever we don't pay for our unemployment, for our health insurance and all that, whatever's left in those lines, which we have a few more bills left.
Bulkhead is, more or less.
There might be $70,000 left in that whole, group, where all the insurances are.
Still not a lot.
It's not a lot, and we still have $66,000 we will need to cover for, the snow and ice. Which, Randall and Heather and I met and had a discussion about what he really needed to purchase before the end of the year, because he still had some monies left in his expense, road machinery and general highway, expenses, but that's not nearly $66,000, so.
I guess in my own head, the fact of the matter is we don't have the money to pay this year, and next year we're really not going to have the money to pay for this, and so when we sit here and say you have to have to not fill shifts and you have to cut positions, that's absolutely what's gonna happen. Trust me, it's not what I wanna see happen, but, and, you know, what we want and what we can afford and pay for are two completely different things.
Now, last question, I'm just looking at the latest expenses that you sent.
Mhm.
Elementary school is at 81%, so they've got, so far, as of 6/16, they've got $762,000 left. I mean, can we extrapolate and say there's gonna be some good surplus there?
Well, they got that big payroll. that
We
comes
just
in.
did, the payroll that's in here, that's not included in that report, is $190,000,
I'm
for-
looking at 762.
right? But they're also gonna have whatever they are gonna pay those teachers for the whole summer. Last year I had $475,000, plus the $190,000.
Oh, so they're,
So-
they're the payroll over the summer.
Correct.
They're paying-
If they don't take a lump sum, which the lump sum only came to, if you look in your payroll, it's like $190,000. Last year, I think I accrued $470,000 for those teachers to get 5 paychecks. Because not a lot of people take a lump sum. And I don't know what other bills their school committee is going to be signing to give to us through the end of the year, so.
I mean, if we-
But I can't transfer from that one way or the other. You can't transfer from school funds.
Yeah.
In the end, it will net to, as long as we don't have a negative, it will come up for free cash, but I can't transfer from those accounts. So if you have $16,000 in communication wages, and I don't have any place to take it from, but the schools are positive, and that they underspent their budget, net is gonna be positive.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't have to take that out for our free cash.
There's a lot of money showing, I understand that. I mean,
And this payroll that you guys are gonna sign is not included in there, is not taken out of that.
I'm looking at school textbook, we budget 18,000 a year, they haven't spent any yet. Because they put it in another account, so there's 18 grand, but
Correct.
there's, 31 grand in another account. So I think there's gonna be some money there, just like you said, it's gotta fall to the bottom for the schools. But that doesn't mean we should spend it either.
No, and the transportation too, they're, the transportation, they'll get all those bills for field trips and all that stuff until the end,
Yeah.
until the end, so.
No, we did send out something to, we were just concerned a couple months ago when we had this conversation, I think with you and the finance committee, that if you don't need to buy it, you shouldn't be buying it.
Heather and I have been meeting with department, we met with, Randall, I met with the fire chief because, he gave me, and I said, you don't need more money in your expenses, and he said, well, I have to pay for my fuel, and I said, I completely understand that, there's some money in reserve, if we absolutely have to take it from there.
I don't know how much is left, there wasn't much.
There's $3,224, I think, but, so, he's gotta pay for fuel, he's gotta fuel his trucks. Same thing with the police fund, but I told him that you have no money left to spend on anything else. We haven't met with the police chief yet, but, and, we kinda met with some of the other smaller departments, like, you don't have anything left, you can't.
School.
We did not meet in school. I don't know, did you talk to Craig?
I am not.
I think it should be a good idea, at least they have the biggest budget, you should be talking to them too. At least, I mean, Cynthia or her representative should be looking to talk to you about, our concerns.
Well, I went to their meeting last week, on the liaison, and I have some from the finance committee. So, I have what they developed as their plan for.
They did the same thing we did, right?
About 2.5.
They presented 2 budgets last time.
No, they presented their plan to basically, parents, based on the fact that, the override will be passed. So this is for next year, another copy, you can take that. And then they gave out, I scribbled my names all over.
This is the reduction plan.
Right,
Okay.
and then this is their, the budget with and without the override. We may have this one already.
I think
That was a plan that they shared, mostly with parents, because they showed up for the meeting.
Heather, I mean, I don't expect you to do it now, but could you set us copies for that, just so we can digest it?
And, their
That's the Norris
reductions are significant.
Yeah, I know.
very significant. So as far as the transfers go, are there any other questions or comments?
How about, question I have would be on the other side that expense? Is there revenue shortfalls, are there any major shortfalls that are coming out by this?
We have, I don't bring the report down with me, but there's some shortfalls in, property taxes at this current stage. I think we're short $102,000 collected. Building department, and, Board of Health, you know, they're estimating a little high, they're on the lower side. Thank you, I didn't print it out. So yeah, there's $102,000 left, almost $103,000 in, real estate taxes. That we haven't collected yet. Building permits is down, Board of Health is down. But, you know, this only is receipts through the first week of June, so Donna still has receipts to be, you know, through the rest of us, so,
Because that will affect our revenue. I mean, that will affect our free cash flow.
yes, it will, yeah. So other ones are just, you know, kind of minor.
I don't know if you're the one that can answer this, but the overlay, the assessor's overlay surplus funds, they used to pay rebates and stuff like that. Is there much left in that?
There is, thank you, I need to, talk to the assessors, there is 26, there's probably almost $30,000. There's 21,000 from 2010, so I wanna make sure that, you know, I wouldn't touch 2013, but 9, 10, and 11, maybe we can take some of that money, and, they can release it, and we can vote on it to pay for particular items at town meeting.
I know this is another question I'm gonna have, but in years past, and not of late, but 4 or 5 years ago, the board was confronted with, excuse me, $500,000-$600,000 worth of unpaid real estate taxes that it took us a long time to collect. And we did finally collect it. Is that number acceptable what we currently have in uncollected real estate taxes over the years?
It's not, I mean, we have 100, it was 102 from this year, but I have to look back, there's not very much from previous years.
Because I mean, I think it was close to $500,000 that we were carrying for several years, and we chased it, we finally got most of it, and
Yeah.
didn't want to see that situation.
No, most of it would be in this current year, the previous years are, you know, $5, $6, $1,000, it's not much at all.
Okay.
Anything else?
When you get a chance, could you give me a reserve and a expense report? Revenue and expense report.
You know that one?
Yeah, is it in your email? It is, okay, disregard.
Milda, did you have a question before I move on?
I do. The reason I'm here is because I wanted to get more information about the year-end transfers and also some things that I've heard that I'd rather ask you guys than sort of operate from what's floating about. If Vicki can answer, do you have an approximate deficit number? I heard John say something about a surplus, but couldn't have been a surplus for the year end.
Which, you talking fiscal 14 that we're in now?
Oh, yeah.
I was asking if she knew if we had a surplus or not, looking at these figures, extrapolating to the end of the year, she said no.
Well,
It's a tough thing to figure out.
but do you have an idea of what the approximate deficit, because I know you mentioned that whatever can't be covered from savings from other departments would be carried into FY15.
You know, I have no idea what people are gonna spend between now and what bills they have. You know, I definitely did send an email that said, give me your bills as soon as you can. And really, I don't think anyone should spend any more money, but that's my own personal opinion. I would say, if you haven't spent it already, unless it's a dire emergency for a particular thing that happened, I wouldn't spend anything else because, you know, we won't have a lot of money to cover some of these larger deficits in the salary line.
But you have sent a memo to the department head asking them to let you know what their commitment of bills were through the end of the year, right?
Yes.
And you've gotten responses?
People are just paying their bills. I mean, if they've gotten the bill, then they should be submitting it to me. It's the bills that the stuff that they will order now, that they don't have a bill for.
Okay. Is there a cutoff date?
I need to have, and I'm gonna be sending this out this week because these bills will be due, I need all the bills by July 2nd for the end of the year, so that we can do one last transfer before the meeting on July 10th. If you have any bills after that date and you have money in your budget line item, and I haven't taken it to transfer to cover something else, then I can encumber that, but if not, then you will have to go to town meeting next year, or go to a special town meeting to get those bills paid. Because previous year's bills need to go to town meeting.
Okay.
So,
Now, that brings me to the other question. Are you having a conversation with department heads regarding revolving accounts? Are you not touching them? Because I was told that you were taking automatically from those departments that, no?
no,
Okay.
this is all general fund.
Okay.
Revolving accounts, whether it be positive or negative balance, will carry forward to
Right.
FY
Yeah.
15. But what people don't understand is, if there's a revolving account, Fund 25, which would be your, council on aging, your police detail, your planning board, if there's a negative amount in that, that gets taken out for our free cash off the top. So just be aware that that will get taken out for our free cash. So, for instance, last year, there was $3,600 in police details that we didn't get paid for before the end of the year, that got taken out for our free cash.
So any revolving fund, the negative?
Correct.
So what
Any
about,
negative funds in the school funds in Fund 22, which I try to be in contact with the schools, if there's some grants that are negative, for whatever reason they were that way when I got here, those get taken out for our free cash also.
Is that the case with the FRTA? Because we're in a negative right now,
Yes.
but it's a billing issue, right?
Yes.
Because- Okay.
But that will get taken out for our free cash if we don't get the money, in time to.
By July 2nd? Does the
Um,
income also have to be received by a certain date?
the income would have to be received, by June 30th.
Okay.
The state isn't, the DOR set new parameters and they won't let you, except for chapter 90 money, any money that you've received. What they used to do is up till September 30th, if you received funds, I could potentially put that towards whatever negative, they're not letting you do that anymore
Okay.
for FY, for this coming year, except for with chapter 90 money.
The other sort of comment that has been made was that a couple of weeks ago, there was some talk about payroll possibly not being met. So there was a cash flow. No?
Donna had mentioned it, I don't think that there was an issue, because I'm sure she would have brought it to our attention.
I have no knowledge.
But I have no knowledge of that.
I have no knowledge of it.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Do we have a line of credit that the town can draw from in case of a pinch, and then with the guarantee that you're gonna replenish it, pay it
I
off?
don't know.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Line of credit.
Line of credit?
I don't think we have a line of credit,
I
I
don't
think
think
we
so.
can borrow at, very, very good rates. We have to.
But based on receivables.
But
that
the
you
other thing too is, all the departments that have, even all the revolving funds and all the enterprise funds, they're all together in one account. So even though there's a lot of surplus in certain accounts, that surplus is still there to be used, as long as it's
So
replaced.
we access and guarantee.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know, I have to ask Donna that question.
which one?
And, my last question. What's the status of the audit for FY 13? Because it was my understanding that the auditors came in at the end of March, and here we are approaching June 30th. Is there a draft? Has there been some
Yeah,
preliminary?
so they've already sent us their letter that we had to get back to them, and we took care of that. They asked us for our responses, and at this point, now, we just got this correspondence, I think, last week, is when they sent it to us. So we got them that back, I think, within a 2 or 3 day turnaround. We're finishing our draft responses now. Vicki did her part, I did my part. I think there's like 3 items left that is up to Donna, and we should have it back to them on Friday.
Okay, so we received a letter.
We received the draft management letter and the draft financial
Okay,
statements.
the management letter.
Yep.
Okay. So is there anything in that letter that's carried over from the previous audit that they identified as public meeting between finance, select board.
Well, yes,
Okay.
we'll be meeting with them once we get this letter back to them. We haven't set up the date and time, they wanted us to get this back to them first, so we could be completed with that, and then they're working on, we gave them a couple days that would work for us over the next couple weeks. The key auditor actually, is due to have her child in the beginning of July, so she'd prefer to have the meeting in the next week or so, so we can wrap that
So
up.
it's gonna be a scheduled public meeting, right?
Is that what I can't answer the entire question, was it a scheduled public meeting in the past, or?
You have to have a public meeting to disclose
We did meet
financial.
last year on the same time in this room, Ed, myself, you, John, one of the auditors, I think there were some people in the audience, so I'm sure that, you know.
What they come in is they'll come in and present it
Right.
with a management letter, saying things that we should try to correct. And then we're able to ask questions on what does this mean, how does it affect the bond rating, what are the things we can do to improve upon it? Those are the kind of discussions we have. And if there's anybody highlighted in there, we bring in the department heads that are highlighted, or anybody who wants to come in and just find out information.
And one last point of
That
order.
was the last question.
I know, but this is a point of
It's an
order.
order, not a
It's
question.
not the financial. Would it be possible that respective boards, whoever comes in here to present, whether it's the select board or the finance or Vicky, that they have extra copies of documents that they're presenting to be viewed by the parties that are supposed to be presenting? Because, you know, if somebody in the audience wants to sort of like visually have something in front of them, it should be, so you can have some extra copies. I don't think everybody's gonna want one, but I would.
So I think that in order to save paper, if you want one, just raise your hand and we'll be happy to go make you one, rather than make 20 copies for people that are happy in the audience. Go ahead.
No, that's.
Oh, you want one?
You said
Well,
right
then,
there.
just tell me next time, we'll make sure you get one.
I think I'm
No
just
problem.
positive, is that I
Yes.
didn't want to interrupt.
I will ask, would anyone else like a copy?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just one question for,
Thank you, Linda.
when you send your letter out, or you send company funds, or you do planning and send, you send it out soon to notify departments that company funds means that you don't anticipate to get a bill before the 30th, but it's for something that you acquired before the 30th.
Yes,
And I've heard it time and time again, no matter how many times it's been explained to people, you have to explain to them again, like it's brand new. Because they'll come in and they'll say, well, I bought it in June 15th, you're obligated to pay for it. But we shut up paying those bills at a particular date in July. And anything you encumber without an encumbering letter, you can't get paid. These vendors won't get paid.
Correct.
Until we have a vote sometime in the next year, and that requires a 9/10 vote.
We had a department meeting, was it 2 weeks ago? I think I handed those letters to the bigger departments that were there, and I need to email them to the, you know, the
Just
smaller
make sure that
departments.
there's some departments that haven't been, they're spending money, but they're not aware of this sometimes. And I say sometimes.
Mhm.
Another question on the revolving fund, sorry. You were saying if there's a negative at the end of the fiscal year, it'll draw free cash.
Correct.
Now, what if it's a $10,000 revolving fund, it's got $20,000? Do we take that average?
No,
So it's a one-sided deal,
yes.
so it can keep building.
Well, there's cutoffs, and we had this discussion
And-
before, I never got a really final answer from you, because you didn't know at the time.
No, it's only if we decide to get rid of that revolving fund.
Well, my concern on that, and after it again, is we have people or departments that have these funds, and I know they run their operations out of it, or certain operations out of it, but there's other, committees and boards that run up these dollar amounts, and we have a limit on them.
Correct, but they can
And that
spend
limit,
one particular
anything
year.
over that limit in the course of that year should revert back to the general funds, how I was explained to it years ago.
Not unless we vote to get rid of that revolving fund altogether.
Well, it doesn't make any sense if we have a threshold
Yeah.
that they meet, and they're not using the money, and money comes in above and beyond that threshold, or that dollar limit,
Mhm.
that money should be going somewhere. We should be building up and padding those funds.
And especially if the opposite side of that is if I wanted to use that revolving fund to make it negative, so I know I can pay at the end of the year on free cash.
That's-
That's forcing my
The
budget.
problem is, we went to the finance, conference a couple weeks, a while ago. When we went there, that was one of the topics, unless I'm hallucinating.
No.
It was, correct?
Yes.
Revolving funds, and essentially the thing to do with them when you get into that situation is you essentially have two options. You have to leave it there, or if you wanna get rid of the money from the revolving
You have
fund,
to get
you
rid of
dissolve the revolving fund.
Correct.
Those are the only two options we have to work with. Maybe it's time where we're starting to look at
Well, it
things
doesn't
we
make any sense
like.
to have a threshold on them or a dollar amount to go against.
Maybe it's time to start looking at, is it still the best situation for us to have revolving funds? And is it, if it is it the best to have it for everything? Maybe we need to look at these a little closer another time, because
Yeah, another time, because we're over our time. So at the moment, are there any other questions regarding the proposed budget transfers that we talked about?
No.
Okay. At this point, I would accept the motion to approve the proposed budget transfers for fiscal 14, the third round.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks, Lee.
Finance. Oh, sorry, you want to vote too?
So,
wanna make the-
I move that the finance committee approve the budget transfers as proposed by the town accountant. Second. All in favor? Aye.
Thanks.
Yes, on this side.
Up next, we have an interview for the building commissioner and zoning code officer with Mr. Robert Decker. Hi, how are you?
How are you?
Good. Would you mind taking a seat right over there? Yeah, right there.
I got a copy of my resume for y'all.
Okay,
I
perfect.
don't know if you have one.
You email me. John. What's your name? John Martin.
Pleasure to meet you. Here's my copy of my the approval I received from the state. One copy, so for you guys' reference.
This is mine. This is mine. That goes to him. Hi, I'm Liz. Nice to meet you. No, there's two there.
There's two
Two
pages.
pages.
You have both pages?
I have one. Yes, I do.
I love the copy. Sure.
What?
All right, thank you very much.
Sure. How are you?
Good, yourself?
Good, thanks. Thanks for coming in. Sorry we're running behind schedule.
Oh, no problem.
So, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're interested in this position?
Well, I graduated from the University of UMass back in 2006 and have done construction since. And I would like to get a job as a code enforcement officer. I'm really interested in the building code. And I've been approved. I gave you guys a copy of the letter from the state. Approved me to take the exams. I haven't taken the exams yet, but upon getting the job, I would receive my certifications in that due time.
Are those,
There's five.
soon or later or?
I would do them right away.
How often do they,
I believe it's weekly or monthly. I haven't looked into it.
Anytime?
There's 5 tests.
pardon?
There's 5 tests that they
5 tests? Yeah. You gotta pass all 5 in order to
Yeah.
get your.
And what experience do you have with zoning laws?
Well, over the past few years, I've worked with trying to develop small parcels of land. So I was learned about the approval not required laws and the zoning in local towns to see what lots would be sufficient to build on and such.
What kind of experience have you had working with a building inspector?
I have, no experience as a building inspector, but,
No, where you
well,
had.
pulling permits, I've pulled a few permits, probably a half dozen permits I've pulled myself. But I've worked on various jobs where the permits were pulled for us, but, it obviously, follow the code in the blueprints. So I have a good understanding of reading and interpreting blueprints and following the procedures that are required.
Have you had any experience working on commercial buildings?
Some commercial buildings. I was just working at a job at it used to be the Clark School for the Deaf in Northampton. We were just demoing that building, a couple of buildings there, and getting them ready for condos for a company called Selective Service. They're from Manchester, Connecticut, so I worked about 2 months with them, and for the last month I've been doing some carpentry up in Buckland on a home.
Now, the work you did, was it as management or as a?
I was a general laborer, but, I was hired as a general laborer, and, I got a raise, but then they got no more work for the past month, so I found work as a carpenter in Buckland.
This particular job, sometimes you'll be called out in the middle of the night. If there's a fire, a building has to be boarded up or something like that. Those are things that are part of the job. Is that something that you have any problems with?
That wouldn't be any problem.
Just, I'm looking at your self-employed in construction, 97 to present, framing, remodeling. How many projects have you taken from the ground up, from digging the hole through to the finished product?
I've done about a half dozen myself, but personally working with, I had a company that we did probably a half dozen also. I had a company with 5 other guys back in 2009. We completed about a half dozen projects. But I worked with a company called Carpentry Concepts. Dennis Benz ran the company out of Shelburne Falls, and I worked with him for about 6-7 years, so I got the general run of projects from him.
Have you ever supervised a start to finish, or?
Yeah, on various projects with Foursquare, the company that we opened, and projects I ran myself.
What kind of project were they? Residential?
Residential,
So
primarily.
building somebody a house?
Building somebody a house or a remodel.
Okay.
I worked at Applebee's in Greenfield when that got constructed, back in, I think it was about 2000, 2001, I believe it was.
Have you done we don't have big commercial buildings, I guess that really doesn't matter. What's your specialty, if you will, in construction? What do you like doing, and what do you
I like
do?
framing and finished carpentry.
Yeah.
I enjoy it, working with my hands,
And you understand pretty much code as far as that goes?
totally, yes.
Why do you think you'd be a good fit in our town?
Well, I'm considered to be an easygoing person. I kind of follow the rules, and try to help people. I'm eager to get a job and stay with the town. I would like to find some stability in my life, and I think this town could offer that for me.
It is a small town, there's a lot of local contractors in town, and I work in the procurement field, so I deal with vendors every day. So everybody's your buddy until, you gotta say, this isn't right, you gotta redo it. How would you handle a situation where Joe of ABC Carpentry or Construction is, on the project, you like him, he's a nice guy, he's done a lot of nice projects, but you say, hey, this is framed wrong, or this is dug wrong, how would you deal?
You gotta follow the rules, and if you explain to them, in a calm manner to them, and sometimes it's gonna cost them money to fix something that goes wrong, but it's an unfortunate matter. Just try to ease into the situation and explain to them that it's the better for public safety for them.
And he's gonna say, hey, you're wasting $5 grand, you can't do this to me, and get angry and all that. You feel you could handle that dynamic?
I believe I can,
With
yeah.
experience, and be able to tell them why and explain it well.
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Has there been a time that you've had to do that in the past? Maybe tell someone, what they're doing wasn't right and had to correct them?
On various jobs, if somebody was framing something, didn't make sense how they were doing it, say, oh, we should do it this way, opposed to being in a negative form, try to be positive when I'm speaking to people.
There are times that you are going to be required to go to court and defend your action and represent the town. Do you have any experience with that at all?
With going in front of the courts for zoning matters,
Zoning matters, zoning enforcement matters, yes.
I personally don't, but have too much experience doing that. I've attended a few town meetings when we were trying to get a few projects passed, but I personally don't have that type of experience.
You think you can handle it?
I believe I can handle it well.
This position sometimes starts very early in the morning. Rich has been coming at 6 o'clock in the morning to meet contractors and go over permitting and go over rules and regulations and then go out back into the field. Is that something that,
That can work for sure. I get up early in the morning and go to work on time, so it's something that I can do.
the other thing to it is a salary position. I mean, you have a benchmark of roughly 30 hours, but sometimes you work more.
Okay,
Okay.
that's all right with me.
Same salary.
Same salary, yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, it can work.
okay.
Not off the top of my head, I'm just scanning this.
Are there any questions from the audience? Do you have any questions for us?
Now, when are you looking to fill the position by?
We're kind of just interviewing people and hoping to find the best fit at this point. So, I'm not sure that we have a specific time frame, but
Rich is retiring yet.
soon.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
Oh, you're Richard? Pleasure to meet you. You're retiring? Thanks. Congratulations.
Thanks.
We don't feel that way, Rich, but yeah.
How many people are being interviewed?
We have interviewed
You'll be fine.
5
5 people.
so far. Yeah.
And I believe I can receive the certification in the due time, that would be necessary. I'd be excited to get a job here.
A question, because it looks like you're self-employed with property analysis.
Yeah.
So do you work for a bank and you do?
No, I've worked for 2 different insurance companies
Yeah.
back probably 5 or 6 years ago at this point. And I would go and inspect the properties,
Yeah.
see if there was any hazards, or if there was like a dog that was vicious on the property, or there was the roofing need to be replaced, or various.
So before they give them insurance, so if there's a risk, you go
Right.
out there and.
Exactly.
Okay.
Inspect their wood stoves. I did I did a daycare once and a factory in Montague.
If they don't meet the specifications, you tell the insurance company. I don't know for sure, but that may be a conflict if you're doing it in town, but I guess that's something.
Yeah, I don't do that anymore, actually.
Oh, I thought it said till present. Yeah, till present.
Maybe that's
Okay,
it.
so you're not doing it anymore. Okay.
Oh, that's the property analysis. I thought you were talking about the inspections I did.
Property analysis.
Property analysis. I worked doing, I would review properties on the internet and see if the properties had any water hazards or any wetlands on the property, and see if it would be a grandfathered lot. So then we'd write a letter to the companies or the people that own the property and try to purchase their property. But if I got the job, I wouldn't do any of that in Southampton.
So that's not for an insurance company? It would be
No.
A real estate investor or something?
It was for some investors, yeah.
Okay.
But I haven't done any this year at all.
Anything further? Any other questions for us?
Anything else further that you would have?
What is your ability to start?
I can start right away.
Depends being self-employed, huh?
Yeah. I'm a carpenter right now for a gentleman, but might be doing some painting for another outfit that I worked for last summer. But I would definitely love to come start here July 1st, if that's when you're needing to start for.
Now, is there the ability to submit questions after candidate leaves to somebody? Is that?
My email's on my resume there, if you have any questions.
No, I mean, do you have any
Oh,
questions?
if
Do you
I
have any
can,
for us, or?
yeah, if I could just have your, do you have a business card? I could,
No, we don't have business cards.
Heather does.
Heather does.
Heather does, yes.
I have Heather's contact information, actually.
Okay, so if you have any other questions for us, you can feel free to contact her, and then,
And your name again? John Martin?
Robert, did you take the exam, or were you grandfathered in on the construction license?
I haven't taken the exams yet.
No, for the construction, the Massachusetts construction.
Oh,
supervisor
I
license?
took the exam,
Okay.
yeah. And your name, ma'am?
Liz Moulton,
How do you spell your,
Moulton.
and your name, sir?
Ed Collins, Cauly.
Maybe your business card.
Well, it was a pleasure coming to meet you guys.
Thank you. Nice to meet you, thank you.
You guys got a copy of my certification then?
Yes,
Yes.
you gave it one copy to us, and I think we have one in the packet.
Likewise, take care. Thank you so much. We have some, we can do here only. Oh, we can do one, two, one.
I don't think the group is coming, so.
We can do this one, or we can do this one, but we can't do this one.
These two?
And there's multiple ones in there.
What's that?
In some of them, there's multiple ones in there.
You only got
That's
one.
just a,
I make a motion for payroll warrant P 1451-2 for $704.
John, you're gonna have to. Oh, you wanna see him first? Sorry.
Just because, you know.
Let's pass them down. You let me look and I'll keep going.
Do you
That's
wanna
what I,
look?
yeah, that's what I usually do. Sorry.
Okay.
Alright, while you're looking at those, there's no bill warrants, we don't have any PCFs, no CRFs. We have a one-day beer and wine license for Steve Pierce at Conant Park on August 16th from 2 to dusk. Everything is attached, right?
Everything's attached. I make a motion to approve Steve Pierce's one-day liquor license at Conant Park, August 18th, 2014.
August 16th.
It says 18th right there.
Oh, is it the 16th or is it the 18th?
It's whatever the next sheet of paper says.
Right.
It's the second one today, though. The actual application.
16th.
Okay, the 16th.
Can I cross this out?
Yeah, please by all means. I get excited and, my 6s and 8s on the computer.
That's good.
That's why I always proofread before mail.
There's a motion.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We all sign this or just one?
Just,
Good. One person.
can I keep going, John? Okay, so we have, no contracts, we do have 2 Mass Department of Transportation right of entries. And this has to do with the sidewalk project that goes from the fire station down to Conant Park. So there's 2 parts to this. The first is the right of entry paperwork that we would sign to allow the Department of Transportation to work on the
Town
land
property.
on Route 10.
Work on town property.
Right, thank you. So you have to sign the form, and then 2 forms are for the 2 specific pieces of land that the town owns that we utilize in addition to the private property for this project. The right of entry allows the workers to enter onto the project and do the work necessary to lay the sidewalk. 9TE47 is the land near Conant Park, and 9TE41 is the land in front of the town hall. we can sign those tonight if we feel that we'd like to. The other part of this, and Heather, you can step in and correct me anytime, as far as we know, this has never been done, but it is an option that the town be compensated for this work. The minimum amount the town would be compensated is $500. We're not sure anybody else has ever done that. If we choose to make that an option, we can have that conversation tonight and move forward without signing these papers, and then it's a whole different set of rules to go by.
My comment on that, where I've been in a position to do all these land takings for right-of-ways, is that the town goes to all these butters and tries to get a donation
From
to
the
go on their
town.
property.
That's only when it's a municipal project. The state always compensates, from the
I know.
one I talked to.
Well, I've been doing this for 30 years, and believe me, I think for us to ask for this, where we're gonna get a major improvement, and then they're gonna go and ask for the right-of-ways, if various other people's on there, we're setting a bad precedent.
Okay, so I just wanted to
That's
bring it up
fine.
because I guess in the
But if you want
financial
to-
situation that we're in, I would hate to see us turn away any kind of money if there was an option for it. So it's better to have a
That's why I wanna
conversation
hear
about it.
hear more.
Yes, it's better to have a conversation about it than no conversation
And
about
then
it.
there's an appraisal process that goes through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So essentially how it was explained to me by the folks in DOT was, what Ed said is correct, there's essentially two different processes. There's one when the towns step in to do their own improvement process, their own improvement projects, and when the state steps in. This is a state project. So when the town steps in, the difference is the town generally goes to the abutters, like Ed said, and says, hey, we'd like to do some improvement project, would you consider donating your land to us to be able to do it? Instead of us compensating, we can compensate you, but it would be great if you could donate it, and a lot of people would say, yes, we'd like to donate, what have you. With the state project, if it's a private abutter, like an individual, like if Liz's property was on this pathway, and they had to, come and take her land in order to put the sidewalk, she wouldn't have an option to say, no, thank you, please don't compensate me. She is going to be compensated.
And that's what we'll have
There's no
there.
option on it on the state project. She will be. Now, because we're considered, the same place as essentially a private abutter in this case, we have the same option. As Liz had stated previously, there is no knowledge of this ever occurring in the past, according to those folks at DOT, where a municipality who has ever said, yes, please, let's look into the compensation process. Generally, what they explained to me was that municipalities are generally so happy to have these improvement projects come in that, the price and the quality and the improvement is worth more than whatever they'd be compensated for. $500, what is that amount? That was simply when I asked them to shoot in the dark what the minimum amount we'd be compensated would be, just so I had the information, should I be asked, I would have a number. And that's the number they gave me. So what are the two options here? The two options are A, we sign the right of entry, is that what those are called, Ed? Right of entry forms, and we proceed, everything goes smoothly. Option B is we call them up and we say thanks, but we'd like to actually see what, we can be compensated for, and we go down a different pathway.
What's the different pathway?
Different pathways, they come out and they have an assessment of the property, see how much it's valued at, they give us a number, and essentially we do exchanges on that end.
So let's say, for example, my house is next door and they're going to come for a driveway or a sidewalk on my property. Are they going to give me money for that?
As a private.
As
Yes.
a private person?
Yes.
So they're gonna have to appraise that land anyway?
No, let me back it up. There's three ways of right of entry. There's a temporary, and there's a permit, and then there's a possible. What it is they need a temporary easement to go on your property to make sure the contours are properly. You never lose your right of way. It's always yours. Do you get compensated for it? No. Does it affect the project down the road? It can. Okay? My feeling is when you do this, we're getting a major improvement in there. And my experience with these right of entries is that we're going down the road trying to, for our costs, when we do a project, and we try to solicit donations of temporary or a permit. Usually the slivers. They're not very big parcels. In this case here, we're not going to lose anything on these properties. They're still going to be ours. It reverts back to us when it's done. But a lot of them are temporary easements to go on your property, to make the change, make sure the grades come together. And my experience with that is when we go out and ask people to donate for these improvements, and we've been very successful in the past. There was one year when we did major improvements on Line Street. There's a little corner of Line Street that's at East and Line, and Western Mass Electric owned that place because they had a substation there at one point. Right now it's defunct, there's nothing else, but the policy of Western Mass Electric is we'll take a donation. When we went through 3 appraisals, we had to pay for the appraisals. We had to get 3 different appraisals, throw the high out, the low out, when it comes to right-of-way increase, and we take the middle one. It was like $118, but we spent about $3,000 for appraisals. And we did that on 2 other spots. So we did this route because in the long run, we're not spending a lot of money. And I don't think it's a good precedent when with our projects, we're going down the road and we're asking for donations of a temporary easement or even a sliver of land to address a site distance problem, something like that. In this case here, I believe, and what my looking at the plans are, they're going to go on our property, adjust our property lines to meet the new construction.
I ask you a question, Route 10, State Highway?
State Highway.
So our land is along here, then in front of Conant Park, is that?
Yes.
Okay, because it crosses in front of the home, just before it gets my property.
Correct.
So Conant Park is here. And
The road is 75 wide.
I was gonna say, don't they own some of the land?
Yeah,
over
they
there?
do. And the same thing with us. Like a street like this, it's probably about 24 feet, while we own 15 to 12 feet on either side of the road to deposit snow, to utilities and stuff like that, but the town owns that.
And so if they go on that property, that's theirs.
That's it.
Okay.
That's what we're talking about.
Doesn't sound like, I mean, I don't wanna lose a lot of money, but it doesn't sound
No,
like. we're-
right. Well, I just want to make sure we brought up the 2 options and we discussed.
Right, that's what we should ask them.
So, no, that's okay. So, at this point, if they would accept the motion one way or another.
I'll make a motion to sign the right-of-way increase for these 2 parcels.
Which parcels, I'm so sorry.
That's
I'll
In
second.
front of the town hall and in front of Conant Park.
for the sidewalk.
Oh, sorry.
Any other discussion? We're talking about the sidewalk project that's going from the firehouse to Conant Park and crossing over, and we just need to sign the right of way.
What's the chairperson's opinion?
Well, after hearing Ed's educated knowledge about it, I think we should just sign. We're not talking about a lot of money. Right, we're not talking about thousands of dollars, so I would say. So there's a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
You just need my signature?
Good deal.
Chairperson, I'm sorry for being late. Okay, you got assigned to 2 committees. I did? No, you didn't. You missed the first gentleman for this building inspector.
I thought we already,
Mr. Decker. There was 2 more on the agenda.
So we're a little bit ahead of
No,
schedule. David, if you wanna look at the
Sure.
payroll. Sure.
On here, it says week ending June 14th, but I see 80 hours, 56 hours, 60 hours, so is that payroll ending instead of week ending on this? If we-
Oh,
we have a 2-week
that has
payroll?
nothing to do with anything we would create. That's something coming from, is that the school?
This is highway department payroll.
Oh, I haven't the foggiest clue. I don't speak.
You should.
I'm sorry.
It says week ending June 14th, but yet Roger's got 56 hours, Junior's
Because
got...
his other hours are probably water.
Okay, but what I guess my point is, this says week ending, and these are for bi-weekly. These are
Right.
every 2 weeks. So shouldn't it say payroll ending? Because it's truly not week ending.
Well, that's a form that's always, but yeah, I mean, if you want to.
Yes, you're right, but
And so it should, so that way we know. Because I'm looking at it and say, yeah, 16 hours overtime, you know? Okay, so
no,
we
these are
can-
2-week periods,
we can
so it
correct
should
the
say
form.
period ending.
period ending, yeah, yeah.
So we can take a note, period ending, not week ending.
Okay. So I have no issue with that, knowing that.
Right, so do you want, let's do this before we move on. So we have the plumbing inspector payroll. Can I accept the motion?
I move we approve P 1451-2.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. We need to sign this? Yes.
Yes.
Multiple copies.
I'd like to sign it first. or does it
No, it
matter?
doesn't matter.
I make a motion to accept payroll warrant 14-51 for $886,438.43. This is water wages, transfer wages. That's an awful lot for both of them. This must be a culmination of, doesn't make any sense.
Those are corrections, the next two, I believe. Can I see after them?
Oh, this is all the town hall wages. You see what I'm saying? This is just cumulative down?
I imagine, yes.
Okay.
And that's just the last
Okay,
page.
this is for all the town hall wages in water, highway, and fire and police, for the tune of $86,438.43.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And have a correction for payroll warrant 14-49C for $123.61 for the water wages.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Another correction of $71 for the general highway wages, of $71 for payroll warrant 14-47C.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Alright.
This one's funky, Heather. It like it has to focus or something.
Hold on, it's not that.
I'm making a pile of them.
Oh, for you to sign?
Yeah. And
Was
then
there one
we'll-
you couldn't sign?
Yeah, so then you're gonna go to this one and I'm not gonna talk about it.
There's two, Dave.
You're not gonna talk about it?
Well, there's one I can't talk about, so I'm gonna wait to take care of it.
Why can't you talk about it?
This is the report.
You shouldn't talk about this one? Nice suit, by the way.
There's one more.
Didn't it look so handsome?
It's that one, I think, on your left hand. Which hand,
What are you
folder?
looking for?
I used to wear orange shirts all the time.
I know, when they walked in, I felt like a look.
I think we should have a teammate from the Hawaiian.
Okay.
I go nice one. I think it should be a contest.
Now you can-
We're losing.
Now you can do this, we're gonna do this one.
There's two of them?
This is the school payroll, and this is I can do this, but I can't do that.
Okay. Payroll warrant P 1451-1 for the elementary school, $343,250.61.
So moved?
Second?
All those in favor?
Ed's, call it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I abstain.
Ed, you're vice chair, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Keep interrupting. Maybe tired.
I know.
Payroll warrant PD 1451.
This is a deduction.
These are for withholdings in Medicare, for compensation, and wage guard. Okay? $71,119.14.
Second, so moved?
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. How many times is that in the email day? You can vote on
I can vote on the deduction.
it? A lot?
No.
Just want to see that. I did. You're awesome.
Oh, I can't sign that one. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Why was there a garnishment?
Evidently, somebody had an outstanding balance that the court ordered garnished.
Yeah. That's the only way you can do it.
we have another interview for the building commissioner, zoning enforcement officer, Mr. Mark, is it Easthampton? How are you?
Hi.
If you could have a seat right over there, that'd be great.
Hi, Mark. Dave McDougall.
Hi, Dave.
It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
John Martin.
John?
Nice to
Hello,
meet you.
John.
Hi. Liz Walton.
Hi, Liz.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Only guy getting away is Ed Polly.
Ed.
Running away.
Hi, Ed.
Hi, I got a couple of ideas.
How are you doing?
Well, thank you.
Good, thank you for coming.
Thanks for calling.
So I guess we can start, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're interested in this position?
I went to Boston Architectural College for 4 years. My internship was with Bernard Schenkelberg, and we were the primary architects for basically all of Peter Picknelly's work. So anything that hit Springfield, we had our hands on, you know. I went to STIC and HCC for CAD, computer-aided drafting and drafting and design, that kind of stuff as well. Worked for a number of construction companies in the field as well. I've designed and had been built to fruition half a dozen custom designed houses from Enfield, Connecticut to up on the hill up there overlooking Easthampton for the Aherns, you know, mounted to the face of the mountain, you know. My experience in design and build is pretty rounded when doing my internship with Ben. I designed everything from, excuse me, from hotels to municipal buildings to private schools to daycare centers to restaurants and et cetera, you know, multi-use buildings as well. And at my time at Reinhardt in Agawam, they do a lot of government work. So I had my hand in a lot of buildings that involved in specialty design for airport hangars for specific military planes. But currently myself, I just got a little measuring company for measuring existing buildings and laying out the existing plans. It's nice and simple, you know. But I don't have my licensure. I don't have my architect's license, but I'm registered to sit for the exam.
Okay.
Because I finished my IDP program through NCARB, which consists of 7,200 hours of experience underneath a licensed architect of all the facets and divisions of architectural design, construction administration, etc.
And so why are you interested in having this position in Southampton?
Well, I don't see myself finishing my degree, and I got 2 young sons, and it started with I've only been working for myself, and it's been slow work. It's hand to mouth, and it hasn't been very, you know, the business hasn't been very good. And I saw the ad. It started with Westfield. I saw the ad. They were looking for the inspector in Westfield for the health department. So when I did that, when I put that together, to put that in and submit it, I asked Johnny Flagg, who's the commissioner of Westfield, you know, for some advice on how I should maybe approach it so that it would be more viewed in a better light, you know. And he had mentioned that Southampton might be looking for an inspector, and Southwick as well. So I just kind of did the whole rounds, you know. And the reason to want to get involved in inspector is I just seems to be more solid, more stable, not so roller coaster-ish, if you will, you know. And that's basically the main reason.
Thank you.
Yeah.
David?
Hi, how you doing?
Hi.
Where are you originally from?
Westfield,
Is that where you grew up,
pretty much.
pretty much? I lived in Westfield for a wee bit.
For where?
A wee bit in Westfield.
Oh,
I lived
yeah.
over near Camp Sunnyside for a while.
Is that, that's heading out towards Russell? No?
It's gone, 202 going south. It's now condos.
Oh,
Beveridge Boulevard down that way.
oh, I'm not familiar with that.
So how'd you end up going out to Boston and to Newbury Street? That's a big change from Westfield.
Well, I mean, I lived in Westfield. Every week I drove out to Boston.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Wow. That's a
Yeah.
haul.
yeah, it is. Well, you get used to it, you know. I got used to it,
Okay.
you know.
So how close are you to completing your degree, would you say?
Another year and a half of full-time.
Okay, so that's a while of nights.
Yeah.
It's, yeah.
Well, I mean, I was going part-time for 4 years, you know. It was a crawl, snail's pace, you know. But,
Have you ever worked under a building commissioner, part-time or anything like that?
no. I had gotten hired at Springfield. Steve Desolé was the commissioner of West, it's in Springfield.
Okay.
I had gotten hired there when I thought Ben was gonna close his office. But then he didn't, so I had to tell Steve that I wasn't gonna work there.
Okay.
But that's the closest I ever was for working under a commissioner.
Okay. And so you're working mostly on the design end right now, and have you ever done any building inspector for your perspective as an architect, going back in, make sure things are done?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Weekly field reports, so that the contractors, you know, so we had to submit that with the 116 so the bank would be able to disperse their funds, you know.
The funds.
Oh, yeah. The requisitions for payment, you know, is the foundation done, you know, is it backfilled, blah, 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 that kind of thing.
Okay. And have you ever put together a budget at all for, is this, I mean, it's a sort of, it is a department per se, and there's like a budget generation that goes on and whatnot for the year and stuff?
Not for like office people on
Okay.
payrolls or anything along those lines, but for, construction budgets, you know, putting together the estimates.
Okay. Payroll as well, or not, or?
The only payroll experience I really had was working in Ben's office when he had a couple of associates working,
Oh, okay.
and it really wasn't that big a deal because it was all just entered into a program that was like online,
Oh, so they have made it a little bit easier.
so it just did everything, you know. I guess I don't think that counts.
Well, thank you for coming on tonight, I appreciate it. Sure.
Question, just looking over your work, it seems like you've done mostly design work, which would be obviously CAD system or drafting table. Have you got much experience or any experience being out on the actual projects, looking at the projects, when they start with the hole in the ground, start building the foundation and the rough framing and throughout the process, or?
Absolutely.
What type of experience do you have with that?
Everything you just mentioned. Oh,
What?
from the excavator showing up and finding a Volkswagen-sized boulder in the site and dealing with that, to dealing with the engineer to get the engineered backfill in there because the soil bearing capacity wasn't what it's supposed to be, and to the foundation, rough framing.
Now, is that in all your jobs? That's part of the job going out there on the site, or is that a particular one?
Well, for the stuff, the residential stuff, yeah, I was really nervous about a lot of it, you know, because I was really kind of doing it myself, so I really was, had my finger on that pulse, you know. But when doing work for Ben, it was a weekly thing. Every week I was going out to the site and writing down my observations and putting the field reports together and submit them. So it went usually from everything you just said, foundations to, if it was pre-engineered metal buildings, the superstructure going up, you know, then the skin and the insulation and
So you've got a variety of experience with those type of buildings.
interior, yeah, you know, and the electrical and the plumbing and when all that is going through.
How do you think it'd be with a contractor who wants you to approve something that you really don't feel that meets the code or part of the code?
How would I feel about it?
Yeah, and he's pressuring you to approve it.
Oh, I wouldn't approve it.
It's a small town, so, you know.
Yeah, no, I mean, you know, code is into, the interpretation to a degree, you know. But, if I was asked to blatantly do something like illegal, look the other way, a snap decision is not what would happen, you know. I'd have to get back to him on it and then seek some type of counsel or advice from somebody.
See, working with somebody, trying to come up with a solution that falls within.
Yeah, I mean,
It's interpretation sometimes.
yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be just an answer, sure, go ahead kind of thing, or no, or try to harm the guy in any way, you know, but, it is a precarious, line, right? So I would just have to get back to him and kind of come up with a conclusion.
Do a little research.
Yeah,
Sounds fair, thanks.
yeah.
Ed?
This particular job, half the work is building inspecting, the other half is zoning enforcement. Have you looked at our zoning enforcement bylaws at all?
No, I have not.
Okay. Are you familiar with what I'm talking about, zoning enforcement? In other words, you might be talking about people having chickens when they're not supposed to be there, or there might be a corral of swines in it you have to deal with. It's not as simple as, a building issue. There's locations of fences and the whole gambit. That we have rules and bylaws that are part of the enforcement code. How do you feel about doing that as well as doing the building inspector?
I don't have any problem with that at
You
all.
don't have any experience with it, or you?
No, I don't have any experience doing
Don't have
that.
experience with, do you have experience writing, orders of the conditions, that you see as part of your, zoning enforcement issues?
Right, experience in writing what?
Writing the order conditions that you encounter?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think that, no directly, but I can do that, it would be similar, I would have speculated it's similar to putting in zoning information when writing the specs for a project, right?
In years past, we didn't have, this position is relatively new, and when I say new, in the last 15 years, we were both together as one, and we made it more of not a permanent full-time position, but, it's 30 hours a week on average. And, your time is going to be delegated to make sure that the zoning enforcement issues in town are addressed, as well as the building inspection part of your job. It's a lot at times, and other times it's not a lot, but it's something that we need to look at and have done correctly and properly. You are the staff. You don't have any assistants other than a plumbing inspector and an electrical inspector. But you are the staff. We just want to make sure that, you have to have a good balance with both of those.
Yeah.
Ed, there is a part-time assistant.
Oh, there is a part-time assistant of what?
9 hours.
9 hours for clerical.
Are there any other questions from the board before I ask the public?
You're in Westfield, so you're close by, that's not an issue. The salary is established, published, is that within your range, is acceptable? Is that-
I have no idea what the salary is.
It says the salary for fiscal 15 is budgeted at 50,000 even. So is that a salary, if you were offered a position, that would be acceptable? Because the budget's the budget.
Absolutely.
Okay. Gotta ask. Any more things?
Gentlemen, any questions? Do you have any questions for us?
If it's gonna be a major hindrance or, demerit, if you will, for my lack of experience in the zoning,
So I think right now what we're looking for is to, interview people and find the most qualified,
Yeah.
best fit for the town. So, depending on who else we interview or have interviewed in the past, it all kind of depends on that.
Is there a timetable that you have?
Again, Rich is retiring at the beginning of July, so, of course, we want to fill the position, but we certainly want to make sure we have the best person for that job before we come in.
Understood.
All right, well, thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Nice to meet you, Mark.
It's my pleasure. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
Thanks so much, nice to meet you.
I'll come to you.
No.
Thank you.
Time for a break?
We don't take a break. We just keep going. All right, so we are at, you want to do open time for the public here? Okay. We have open time for the public.
I have one question.
Okay.
The gentleman before this one, can you tell me where you live?
South Deerfield. Okay, so I guess we can,
Oh, I have, so I have a write-in open time for the public.
all right, okay.
So, yes, I have a write-in. So,
Someone wasn't able to.
there was a woman who was in my office this morning, and she actually was interested in some, I'm just gonna read you the information and then I'll fill in the gaps for you. To whom it may concern, we, the Giro family, would like to donate a bench in loving memory of our daughter and sister Cecile to the Southampton Council on Aging, the Giro family. Town of Southampton Council on Aging. Southampton Select Board. We, the Southampton Council on Aging, will accept the donation of a bench from the Giro family in memory of their daughter and sister Cecile McCarthy. Southampton Council on Aging. Picture of said bench is attached. It's this blue metal turquoise metal bench.
Is it handicap accessible?
The bench, I imagine when you lift it off the ground, it will be. On the ground, probably not.
So it secures to the ground, I assume?
Well,
What about the
it
footings?
has these, the little ups.
Support post.
Yes, support posts.
What'd you call them?
The ups.
Yeps.
So essentially what would have to happen is we'd have to have them attached. So the only thing we'd have to provide is the bolts to do so. So I talked to Randall, if that's something we can make happen.
There's no bolts with that?
He
Might
said he
come
did
with
not have
bolts.
bolts with it, unfortunately.
You already have it?
No, we don't have it yet, but that's I spoke with Randall earlier, Randall from the Highway Department, in preparation of questions that I might have coming my direction from the board. And that was one of them. The other question is, where we would put it. Well, I spoke with the woman when she came in early today, and she said it would be really nice if the citizens who attend the Council on Aging would have an opportunity to sit down someplace when they're waiting for the bus to come or outside on a nice day, and I thought that would be a wonderful idea. My only concern was making sure, it didn't obstruct the pathway of the sidewalk that we already have, because we want to make sure wheelchairs and everyone else can easily access it without having any problems. The other issue is, we want to make sure it doesn't cause a problem in the wintertime when we have to shovel and we need to plow, so it would have to be worked out with the Highway Department so it was best situated so it wouldn't be an issue. And the Highway Department would have to be okay with being able to install it.
I'd make a motion to have Heather oversee that.
Okay, hold on. Okay, that's fine. Is there a second? Is that a real true motion?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like Heather's on top of it and just,
So, motion that we accept it and Heather follows through, how's that?
yeah, that sounds good.
I'll
I'm
second.
sorry.
Further discussion? No. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So you're gonna oversee this project, right?
Yes, of the installation of a bench, I feel
I think
confident in my building and zoning
Where is
enforcement.
it going on
Very
there?
good.
It will go in here, I'll work closely with
It was a
Randall on it.
Nice gesture to the family, though.
Okay.
So are we gonna send them a thank you note?
We can send a thank you note. We can also see if they may even have a little plaque that they want to stick on the back of it, so it says in memory of.
I think we should send them a thank
Very
you
good.
note from the board.
I'll put thank you notes in.
Okay, so the next discussion is of the building commissioner position. Last week, we interviewed 3 people. The first, Douglas Scott, took a position in a different place,
Community,
so
yes.
he's up. The second person, Charlene Bayardi, there's differing conversations about whether she took a job, had a job, is having a job, or is waiting to hear from us by Thursday. And then we also have Damian Cody, who we interviewed last week, as well as Robert Decker tonight, and Mark Ethier. Would anyone like to comment on any of the above?
I guess I would, The gentleman that took another position, I liked him, thought he had the skills and everything, but I thought he was so too far away, they wouldn't last long, I guess. That proved itself out quickly, there was a distance. The other candidates, I didn't see one that I would say, boy, that's really the candidate for this town. So, I mean, my thought would be we continue to do something on a temporary basis, maybe with coverage from another town, and continue looking, because it's too important to just grab somebody.
Okay, so hold that thought.
It's held.
Would anyone else like to comment on any of the applicants?
I'm concurring with John's opinion. I did like Mr. Scott. I would have considered giving him a shot at it, because I think he would have been a good fit. But I do concur that Heather has found an instrument where we can get some temporary coverage here until we make this point. And I think we should continue advertising and bring in more candidates.
Doctor?
Yeah, again, I would concur with the other two selectmen. But there was that other candidate, it was,
Damien Cody.
yeah, Holyoke.
Holyoke.
He struck me as a go-getter, local experience, energetic. And I figured Decker wouldn't come here, to be honest with you. I think he was just overqualified with years of experience working in Watertown. I think we were his backup or interview practice, to be honest with you. But so I always looked at the next gentleman. I just can't remember, what did you say his name was again?
Damien Cody.
So I don't have my notes. I just found him to be a local choice and somebody maybe we could work with, and we have the appointing and firing capability here. It's not a contract. If it's not working out, we can, move on to another candidate. But I think, we have, in my opinion, somebody that might work. He's not 100%, but, we only meet the guy for what, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and we're supposed to make this decision. I don't know, I'd take a chance. Instead of going through the whole process, if you got somebody who's interested, local, knows his stuff, kind of young, maybe he'll fit in, and retire in 30 years from here, who knows?
I also spoke with Rich earlier, he mentioned that he believes there's another application coming in tomorrow.
Is the window still open, or?
Yeah, so
We
Well,
have a closing date, we
Right,
can open
this is
until.
open until filled. So let me say, I concur with John and Ed, and I'm not sure, I did not get those feelings from the third applicant that you did. He's not somebody that I would consider hiring, although I get the local part and the young, and he knows exactly what he's doing. I'm not sure that I want to fill the position just to fill the position. So given that.
Well, no, not exactly just to fill the position, but it's a viable person. It's not a head in a bed, it's
I don't
somebody.
think his.
We've only had one, in my mind, one viable person, and I'd like to see a couple other ones.
I see what.
I get your point.
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying, but I guess his personality was not warm, fuzzy, or helpful, or.
I don't want warm and fuzzy, I want efficient.
Why not?
I think the experience was a strong point, for sure.
And he did make a comment that he would need to make a certain amount of money, or he would have to supplement some way. And coming from where he's at to what we're offering, he's gonna need to supplement some other way. And is that going to interfere with office hours, or on every other Tuesday, or his ability to do the job effectively if he has to have another job in order to supplement his salary?
I almost got the feeling, same as the first candidate, that this was just coming here to see what was going on. It doesn't sound like what we're looking for. Salary and fit is something that he would slip into. I did like his experience, though, from that point of view. We're looking for somebody that.
There wasn't a lot of experience, though. He's only been there a year and a half.
Right.
But it was a chaotic year and a half, it sounds like he was very busy. So it's, trial by fire, handle all that.
It's not a one-man show, I can tell you that right now. I mean, there's several people over there.
Yes, I wouldn't say I'm ruling him out. I'd just like to see if we get any other candidates in the not too distant future before we decide.
So we'd like to continue to post.
I would just make one comment about, I mean, I didn't meet the first interviewee, and I apologize. I don't think the second person that we just interviewed would be qualified. He does not have the experience, so he just doesn't have the experience.
Okay, so, do I need a motion to move forward? Do I need some sort of motion? to move
Well,
forward?
if I could just have direction from the board as to if I can eliminate certain candidates, so I can at least send them a letter to say thank you so much for your time and for coming in, and let them know which direction we're going in, so that they don't sit and wait for several more weeks. I mean, if there's one person that the board's still unsure about, but if, there's 4 others that the board has already ruled out, if I can notify them so that they have the fairness of notification.
One has already ruled themselves out,
Yeah.
Mr. Scott. And the
Yeah.
second one says she wants to know by Thursday whether we're gonna offer the job or not.
She needs an update on the status of the
Well, the
board.
status is,
I would,
we haven't picked a status by Thursday.
are we interested in moving forward with her, because we can stop the whole conversation right now if we're not.
No, I'm not.
Who's that?
Charlene.
Yeah, the woman that came in. Although she did have experience up in,
Williamsburg, Ocean, Chesterfield.
so she was, I mean, she's someone else that had more experience than the gentleman from Holyoke.
I don't think that she would be a good fit down here.
Why?
I'm not interested in moving forward with her.
Why?
I don't think that her personality will fit well. I didn't like the way, I don't know, just something, was not somebody I would.
But she was qualified.
She was qualified. She could.
Years of experience.
She is a commissioner, she does have the proper licenses, she does have experience. I don't think that she would be a fit. And there was an issue with the office hours up there and the 2 other towns, plus our office hours, and she would have to move things around in order to get down here. I want this to be a priority.
I think
for
you
somebody.
sort of think of it as a regionalization of the building inspector office.
At some point, but not right now.
But that's what
Well,
hiring
we
her would be.
considered that before, when when the COG had offered that particular service, and we decided against it.
But that's what she would be. She, in a sense, that's what she'd be doing. She'd be
But with that in mind, are you going to get the zoning enforcement you need? No.
No, you need somebody here all the time. I'm just
Well, you
saying.
need somebody at least around here.
I think we deserve the candidates to have a good discussion about particular stuff. I think it's important, not just say,
I think she probably do a good job with the building part of it, although personality-wise and meeting with the developers and contractors, we might have some issues with it, but, that's not our problem, it's their problem. But the thing I see is, she would probably do a lot more building inspecting as her job than what we really want here is a balance between the building inspector and zoning enforcement.
so do we have any idea who the other candidate is, or?
As soon as I receive an application tomorrow, I'll be happy to share.
Okay.
But as far as Mr. Coder's concerned, I still think he's in the running.
That's fine.
The
Third
gentleman
candidate.
from Webb?
Yes, yeah, that's what I said.
So we all concur that he's still in the running.
Yeah, I think, in Dave's question, I think he has enough background. Personality didn't seem to fit, and he didn't seem very interested the way he reacted a lot. But, could have been nervous, so, let's keep him in the running, so we bring him back for a second interview.
So what personality would fit?
One like yours, Dave.
Well, no,
Come on.
he didn't,
Friendly, cheerful, might smile occasionally.
yeah, he didn't seem like.
Like Liz's, not
No,
not
no,
Ed's.
no, it's hard to match, I'm not sure.
I don't say personality so much as
So
mannerisms and.
I want the job done.
Yeah.
If he ruffles feathers, it happens in every day.
It's okay, yeah.
So would you say the other 3 have been ruled out and would be an opportune moment to go ahead and notify them, thank you, but no thank you?
My comment is if you're looking for a vote, yes.
Yes, make a motion, so. Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor?
Hi. Thanks. All right, so in the meantime, Rich is leaving on July 3rd.
July 1st.
July 1st, and so we needed to know last week if there was anybody that was available to fill in for him.
I can.
That's good. So when Rich has been out in the past, we've been covered by the alternate building commissioner, who's Paul Haley, he lives in Holyoke. He does inspections on the weekends and evenings at the cost of per inspection and mileage. He currently gets $30 per inspection plus mileage. He's willing to do this. He's made it very clear he cannot do it forever, but he's willing to help us out until we find somebody to have the position. However, he's asking for $35 instead of 30 plus mileage. If you take, and you know, on average what Rich does and how much we pay him, and you were to pay Mr. Healy $35, you're still paying less than you would pay Rich anyway.
How much
As long as we're in a slower season. If we get swamped, then it's actually more. But as of right now, we're in slow.
So who
It's
takes,
gonna pick up for a little while though, because we're gonna be getting into the new complexes that they're just putting in.
So we can't
it's
put
gonna
this
get busy.
off.
It's not gonna happen anyway. Not gonna
so who takes it for inspection?
And they're not gonna build, all those, it takes 3 or 4 years.
Who's
to
gonna do
build
the
one.
office management? Because if he's just doing inspections on the weekends and evenings, who's in the office on Tuesday evenings? And who's out there, who's in the office handling all the paperwork that's coming in?
You could be there on Tuesday evening.
Well,
He,
I don't know how much the clerk
Handling
is
phone
doing right now.
calls?
she's doing essentially what, Bianca used to do in the past, which is essentially run both offices.
She
From
takes the
back.
permits. She takes in the permits.
She does all the paperwork. I think she does a decent amount. I think she can do somewhat of the permits if it's, you know, the specificity of them. We have to go over all the details. Usually she leaves that for Rich, is my understanding. You know, she's still brand new too. We have the other problem where right now with the 2 departments, Rich is leaving the 1st of July. I think Jean will be out for a little bit at the beginning of July on unpaid vacation.
Cool.
Jean, the assistant for the Board of Health in the office there, so we're gonna be like unattended in that office for a little while, and it's not going to be a very easy piece. I mean, I can have Art cover with answering phones and helping folks just answer questions, but, I mean, not having a building inspector, or not having anyone in those offices for even a week will probably be a very interesting piece.
There's also
We're
a
talking
transition
Woodward,
too.
Rich is retiring, right?
Yes.
Yeah, July.
And he's taking off, so he's not gonna be available to cover. He's gone for like the next 3 months out of the state.
So we need someone in there now to be trained, cross-trained on using the computer, where the files are, forms that be filled out. I mean, you need
Not
someone.
so
Have
much-
somebody in there doing that.
Jean does all of that for the most part. We really need someone who, if they already know what they're doing from another community or town, like for instance, Paul Haley, the nice thing about him is he's already filled in the past when Rich has been out.
So he
So
knows.
he knows, you know, a little bit about what's happening. He knows the contractors are familiar with him, so they understand his piece, his schedule, you know, when he's around, how it would work, you know, we put a note on the website and stuff.
It's been comfortable and it's worked out good.
Yes. The only thing we get into is, you know, we won't have as much zoning enforcement as we used to with Rich, because that's not really Paul's specialty, because he's not from originally this area, you know, he hasn't sat down and studied the books like Rich has over the past 10 years. So, you know, if we have a specific question, he can help us out with it, but I mean, if we just want him to sit there and read the books, he's not gonna have time to do it, he has a full-time job. Other communities, you know, a lot of them, I believe Easthampton, they already cover a couple communities, so they're not really around and available.
I do believe that if we just cover the building inspecting part of it right now with this per diem thing that he's done in the past, that ain't gonna work out. The zoning enforcement thing will probably have to come in its own within a month or so after. And there's gonna be a grace period when we get a new guy in here too, because he's gonna be doing mostly building inspecting and then zoning enforcement. You know, a lot of the zoning enforcement is that you're seeing people doing something they don't have permits for. So, you know, we're just gonna have to, you know, for a month or two, we won't be able to do that.
So we have an idea that there might be another application coming in.
That's my understanding from Rich.
So should we put this on the agenda for next week and try and make,
Yes.
you know, put this on, try and make
No,
either we have somebody else or we make
I
a.
think we need a temporary person in there now.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
And you know, there's gonna be a crossover in that, there might be a 3 or 4 week period before that they move to a different person.
I'll make a motion to go ahead and hire Paul for $35 an hour to do
No,
coverage
for inspection,
for inspections.
not per hour, right?
Per inspection, excuse me.
As the interim building commissioner?
Yeah,
You need an, like, effective July 1st date, you do have to start right now, right?
You might wanna have him come in a few days,
talk to Rich.
talk to Rich and see what's on his books.
I'll have
Rich is here, does he want to tell us what he wants to do? I mean,
Find a way to touch base.
Yeah. That's my
Huh?
Rich is here.
No, he's not.
His
He's-
car was out there.
He might have
He was
departed
here
the
earlier.
scene.
He
He
left during.
was here for a while.
Okay, so there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Can I
so,
ask another question?
sure.
Do we want to put another ad somewhere?
Okay.
In
Well, we have it on the website right now that is directed just to the building commissioners. So right now, the only people who are going to see it are those who are in the field. So the only people who are applying are theoretically already qualified. Once we start putting it out there to Craigslist, MMA, or other places, we're going to get everyone and their brother who may or may not be qualified, most likely is not qualified, because if they were qualified, they would have already found it on the website.
Didn't we have a couple candidates who didn't meet the minimum qualifications?
Well, they met the ability to actually be able to take the test. All of them have been able to to be able to take the test. We've only had one person, we didn't submit them over for an
To
interview.
me, a Craigslist or something like that, and we use it a lot where I am, it'll just bring in resumes. The worst that happens is you get resumes that you're not interested in. But right now, we're not doing anything, and if anybody that's a current building commissioner or inspector, they've seen it, then we're gonna drag out that pool.
Well, I like your suggestion, but can we also upgrade our webpage to say, also, we're continually taking resumes on the building inspector going forward?
My other question is gonna be, if we don't get a good candidate in the near future, I think we need to relook at why.
Well, I think it's a specific job. I think you have to look at reasons why people go into it, you know? The gentleman from Holyoke, he has his side business, construction. Why is Rich doing it? Maybe he had his own business and he got, you know what, I don't want to be running around on a job site anymore, but I have years of experience. I mean, there's always some sort of, so it may not be a huge candidate pool to begin with. There may not be anything with Southampton.
Yeah, maybe, but I still think we need to talk.
All right, let's see if we get anything else by next Tuesday and then have that discussion again. Can you make sure this is on there again? Okay. We have to go into executive session, for 2 reasons, and we're gonna go into one, come into open session, go back in,
We can go in for both at the same time if you want.
and then come back out.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna go in for 2, come out into open.
Do you need
What's
this
the third
paper, or do you
one?
have it for the reasons?
Oh, we're gonna go, do we need the third one?
No, it's up to you.
I think we should.
I think we should, so we're gonna go into executive session.
And we won't be coming back into open.
We
Yes, we
are
will.
coming into open session.
Can't we do the? Okay.
No, we
No.
can't. We have to do the first 3 and then we can go into open session.
So we can't do the open session one now?
No, it's relevant to the other ones.
Okay.
So do I need to read all these reasons?
Uh-huh.
All the things, all right, we're gonna go into,
You wanna read
executive
them on the
session.
agenda first?
As I read it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Per Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21, Number 2, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel. We're going to go into executive session per Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21, Number 1, to discuss the reputation, character, physical condition, or mental health rather than professional competence of an individual, or discuss the discipline or dismissal of, or complaints or charges against a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual. And we're going to go into executive session for Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 21, to discuss, to,
5.6, pending litigation.
That's 2, 1.
Yeah, this is number 3.
To discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body and the chair so declares by a roll call vote.
Do what I. Martin, aye.
Moulton, aye.
Oh, yeah. We had that, this, last week when we went to 10-minute recess. Sound, the video was off, but the sound was on.
Oh, I wanted to let people know we were playing.
I know, just let you know.